Okay, welcome to Model Secrets. I'm so excited that you guys could be here with us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us. It's a delight to be here.
Yeah, it's been forever.
It was so great to see you.
Yeah, it's been forever since we've seen you. I've seen you.
I know, and goodness knows when it's going to be safe to see each other again.
I know, right? It's been crazy. The summer's been crazy, but the good news is we've started this. So we're, talking about the business. So that's kind of been a real fun time doing this podcast. So Lynda, I know that you have had THE, the artist agency, for 30 years?
35.
Oh my God.
Wow. We just celebrated the anniversary. That was great.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
And how did you get started in the business 35 years ago? Curious.
Well, when you think about Washington, D.C. 35 years ago, there wasn't an agency representing stylists. And that was primarily what drove THE, was that there really weren't any representatives. And I had been a stylist 1,000 years ago. I had been in the modeling industry, and I found that Washington just did not have true representation of the fashion beauty industry. So along with Terry Grau, we kind of put our heads together and said, let's give this a shot. Within 2 years, she decided she wanted to live in New York. So, I bought her out. Fortunately for me, the angels came along, called Elizabeth Centenari, and said, it's been recommended to me that you're the better agency in Washington, and I'm moving to DC, and so we met, and it was really, truly like love at first sight. And we've been together since like I think, Elizabeth, you've been with the agency for at least 32 of the 35 years.
Yeah, almost 33.
Wow. And how did y'all meet?
I'm sorry?
How did y'all meet?
Elizabeth, I'll let you tell that story.
Yes. So my mother and I were running an agency in Denver. And prior to that, my mom was a model in Louisville, Kentucky, of all places. So that makes Washington look like New York. But she was a top model at 5'7", and I was, 2-3 years old, and I did modeling jobs with her. So I tell people I've been in the industry my entire life, because that's the truth.
Yeah.
So all through college, I worked at an agency, and then my mother and I worked at an agency. I was only in my late teens, because, I'm still in my late teens. But we then left that agency in Denver and started our own. And then I met the love of my life, who told me he was moving to Baltimore. So at that time, that was in 1987. So that's 33 years ago.
Yep.
And so at the time, I had a relationship with Billy Ford from the Ford agency in New York. Mm-hmm. And I said, I know nothing about Baltimore. I know nothing about Washington. And he said, well, call THE. So I called THE, and the director. So I had one conversation with Jay. I had one conversation with Lynda. We met at Paolo's in Georgetown. Mm-hmm. And over lunch, we decided that we were a match made in heaven. And then I relocated. I mean, my husband was already here, so it was like, I made that move. But it was definitely destiny. And, she's my partner for life. What can I say?
Oh, it's so great to have a woman friend that you have partner for life, isn't it?
Yeah.
So beautiful.
I think the very best of all.
It really is.
Exactly.
So with all your clients, I was looking at the list this morning. It is a lot of clients over the years. So you want to name some of those clients that you feel are your best clients or that you work with, or give us a little list of who your clients are.
Well, what's interesting is, given the pandemic, so many things have changed. And I would say prior to that, in the runway field, it was, the top department stores, Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, Nordstrom's, Bloomingdale's, occasionally Macy's. But where's the fashion market today? It's like there's a big pause button, and it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. And I think when it comes to our print clients, that is ever changing. And, we're seeing, whereas back in March, everything was canceled, we're seeing now that as of June, we have, several drops a week coming in, but, I would love for Elizabeth to talk about like what we had to go, like really the amount of time and energy that has gone into the new policies and procedures, but Elizabeth really led the charge in reaching out to the clients, to the photographers. How do we keep everyone safe, the talent, the clients, the stylist? So Elizabeth, would you love to touch on that?
Yes, please do.
Well, to answer your initial question, some of our top clients have been our clients from the very beginning of when we opened. So we have a strong following and a lot of loyalty with our clients. We work with a lot of very upstanding photography reps. And of course, one in particular reps the 5 top photographers in DC, which there in turn means that, all of those bookings through these, Cade Martin, Dean Alexander, Stephen Biver, Peter Howard, and that runs the range of fashion print, commercial print, lots of video is taking place. So, clients like Under Armour, South Moon Under, we still have that. We can still say we've got some fashion. Tucker Nuck is a big fashion client of ours. The trend within the last 10 years is we're doing more and more e-commerce. So that kind of changed the dynamic of print a little bit because the rates are different. E-commerce is in and out and changing all the time because it's basically changing your website and updating what, your merchandise is, et cetera. But we're also seeing a big trend in video, like I mentioned. So, and I think that's also a result of the current trend of the social distancing. The challenge, it's interesting because in March, everybody was eating bonbons and saying how fun it was to have the time off. Lynda and I never stopped working during COVID. We did a lot of spring cleaning, but we worked really diligently with the top clients and the top stylists on how are we going to get a hair and makeup artist in a studio and practice social distancing. Right. Which is a complete oxymoron. Yeah. So we've got about 17 pages of protocol prior to a job. And that's everything from sanitation to doing the proper testing prior to how a wardrobe stylist has to deal with the clothing and the steaming and assistants. And there's a whole new layer for when we do a booking. Yeah. So it's added time, it's added paperwork. People have to sign off on the fact that no one is really responsible. You're at your own risk, but we have done all the things necessary to keep the client safe and the model safe and the stylist safe. And so far, so good.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the best talent on earth, and
Yes.
they are as concerned about keeping everybody safe in the shoot environment as we are.
Right.
So it's the new normal, you know, and it seems to be working out very well,
Right.
which is great.
Did you write all the policies? I mean, did y'all have to go and write all
They
the?
did. They
Yeah.
did. I actually, I had the photo shoot like a week ago,
Yeah.
and I received the document you guys put together, and I was impressed how much time been put into creating this document, and they really put everything in there. What are the stylists doing? What are the makeup artists? What are the models? And the shoot I did, everybody been following the rules.
Right.
So that was great because I felt safe. Everybody felt safe. And that's really important. And I wanted to say thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, through the help of our many different sources, we rely on the different associations and guilds for protocol that comes from, you know, Hollywood and other areas. So gathering up that information and just asking a lot of questions, and, you know, all of the talent prior to the shoot have to go through a series of questions and submit that, and then those are repeated on the day of.
Yeah, my husband has a studio. He has a production company, and in the studio, they all have to follow a protocol. I mean, you have like 20 people in the studio, and they're all wearing masks. They all got their hand sanitizer. They're all trying to stay away from each other. But it's kind of hard because they're all, you know, they're working together, trying to do the cameras or whatever they're doing, you know, and it's difficult. But he had to write that whole policy manual, and he said it took him weeks to write it.
Well, and we continue to update it as we, you know, as we work through this, you know, it's like a testing site. It's like we're all trying to see what works, what doesn't. But what's been really interesting for us is how to move forward with new talent, because of course we need new faces. We want to continue to grow the agency, and we, you know, after feeling a little safer about coming back into the agency, and we sit on different floors most of the time, and we started doing Zoom meetings for models. But as we all know, when models submit, they don't always know the correct sizes, and they don't always share their true height.
Yes.
And so this, like tomorrow, is going to be our first in-person meeting with the people that we've chosen from the Zoom open calls. And we have literally spaced it where that they come in for 15 minutes. The women are going to have their swimsuits under a sundress. We're going to take digitals, look at their skin, measure their height and their sizes. And, you know, in all honesty, it makes me very nervous because it is going to be our first contact. So we've spread out only 6 meetings for the whole day.
Yeah.
So that, you know, they come in for 15 minutes, we do it, then we sanitize everything down and we wait for the next person. But, you know, in order to really get a person's measurements, I'm going to have like a hospital mask on, the best I can find. And gloves and get it done. But the truth is, if you don't see them in person, how can you suggest to the client that this person has beautiful skin, beautiful hair, beautiful nails, and they really are 5'9"? I mean, we have to trust in the fact that we'll be safe doing this. But, you know, again, it's a testing field. So I'll let you know how we do.
Please do.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. That was actually one of my questions. Is I know that you do placement and scouting too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. With agencies in New York and Los Angeles and Europe?
Anywhere that a model wishes to travel, and sometimes it's for different reasons, you know. Sometimes they're diplomats and they relocate, or their husbands are diplomats, etc., and they're relocating to different places in the world. So, you know, Misty James is our model manager, and she, you know, basically will look as to what is the best agency for this particular model. But sometimes, you know, as you know, everybody who's in Washington want to go to New York, and New York is so close. And, you know, if they have the right stats and the right, you know, let's say interest from agencies in New York, then we set up our interviews and you know, cross our fingers. But what we've seen is a lot of our models that have gone to New York are being sent to places like Australia or Asia, or, you know, so they really are having opportunities to travel. And, you know, unfortunately, again, with this COVID-19, that has come to a screeching halt.
Yeah, it really has. I know for me too, for the placement and all that, it's just like, okay, well, let's just do a Zoom meeting. I mean, that's that's all we're doing right now. And I know the agencies up in New York, they, you know, some of them, they'll do the Zoom meeting and then they'll, you know, have half their staff in or half their staff at home, and so they're trying to make it work. That's, I mean, it makes.
Well, the other thing that's worth mentioning is that we have been given the opportunity to do bookings that are driving distance. So in other words, we're doing one coming up in Pittsburgh because it's 3 to 4 hours versus people that can't fly there.
Right.
So we are finding, I mean, we've always been able to book talent in the mid-Atlantic. So, you know, New York, Philly.
Right. I was going to say, don't you have clients that are in New York too?
We have, and a lot of times our talent will either go there or they will come to DC or Virginia, depending on, there's so many great locations in DC.
Right.
So that's been a great part of our business, is that we have a great place to shoot in.
Right.
And also, you know, people aren't going to New York right now.
Right.
So our talent are able to drive because of how centrally located we are. And that's been a real plus. So they don't have to fly, they don't have to take a train, and clients don't want them to.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So
and it's manageable.
That's been great.
And I know, I mean, I really think THE is the best agency on the Mid-Atlantic for sure. I mean, no doubt about that. I mean, I've always
100%.
thought that. I know, I've always thought that. So anybody who's listening, this is the best agency you could definitely go to. They're reliable. They're fantastic people. And, you know, I admire you guys. I've known you guys a long time for sure. Long time.
No,
it's
that's what I also love about the DC area, is we're a small town, large, you know, but our industry is large by comparison to what people actually think it is, you know, like I think they are surprised, but you know, it's small enough that, you know, we do maintain our contacts with the people that we've known for many, many years. And it's incredible, even though we don't get to see each other that often, we're always thinking about, you know, the people that have been so loyal and so kind and so supportive. And as you mentioned, you know, we really do have the most incredible talent, and we're very proud to have their loyalty and support.
Right.
So
I mean, well, I mean, here I am. I put Katya with you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Some new ones too, if you. I have new girls too.
Having, you know, having that support always, you know, and again, it comes back to, I think, like small businesses that are women owned, you know, we really take care of each other. And that's something we definitely need in today's climate.
Isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like a small family.
Yeah. I really think so.
Definitely.
I really think so. So did you guys start, it was THE Network? So do you have, I saw that on the website. I don't know if you're still doing it. I know because of COVID, but.
Well, we launched THE Network in lieu of writing a book. When we were turning 30, our publicist, Michelle Delino, kept saying, y'all have so much information. You've been in the industry forever. You should write a book about the modeling industry.
Right.
And I said, you know, it changes every day and you have to adjust. So the book really, I don't think is the best idea, but we reached out to Flavia, our model, and said, you know, would you be interested in helping us like launch this idea of recording for YouTube all the different things about questions that people have about the modeling industry. And what we found is in the beginning, we addressed every major question. We spotlighted our talent. We did behind the scenes so that people could actually see what was going on at fashion shows and photo shoots. And it became very expensive. Okay, so our accounting person,
production wise, you mean?
Yeah, it was a lot of time. It was a lot of money. And really, you know, it was our accounting person that said, we know why you're doing it, but enough already. Like, you need to like focus on making some money, and you've got a lot of information out there. So, you know, between that, and we also had the busiest year we had ever had last year, and we literally didn't really have time. And we started handing over like our Instagram account to models, to the stylist, and that kind of replaced the new videos. But I would love to still be able to spotlight some of our talent because they do great things. I would still love to be able to do a video about how things have changed given the COVID-19 and what to anticipate. But, you know, it's really hard to get a production team together in
we have one. We have one. I don't think you ever knew that, but we have a production company. That's what my husband's been doing for 35 years.
I did know that. I did know
Yes.
that.
It's called Tilt Creative.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So we still recommend, like when new faces contact us or we're sending letters, whether we're saying yes or no, we will always link them to the THE network because we want them to learn what is safe for them and what to really anticipate from the industry, because there are so many scams. And, you know, we really were hoping to, you know, save people some money and some heartache.
We talk about that a lot for on the podcast. We've talked about that a lot. And then we started doing an online called Model Secrets, and it's online, kind of a, you know, workshop thing, and that's exactly what we talk about. And then we've heard so many stories on these workshops. Oh my goodness, this one girl, you know, she had spent $500 and she didn't get anything, and she just gave them money, and just these stories you hear and you're like, oh no, you know. So we try to help people in that way, and I think that's kind of why we've started the podcast and the workshop, you know, and also to teach about, because you just said all the clients nowadays, they want to see digitals and videos.
Right.
Video, and they want to see the personality. That one's so important.
Yeah. You know, the YouTube channel where all of these videos are shown, a lot of them are tutorials.
Yes.
And a lot of them are testimonials. And, you know, we've got our top hair and makeup artist on there doing the tricks of the trade. Because when you interview people, there's so much information. We give out a packet called THE Essentials. And, you know, you sit and hope that they all read it. But
it did.
You know, now you can go if, you know, I think that the first video is called How to Become a Model.
Perfect.
And it's like doing an open call, but you have everything in one compact informational whatever, and you can go back and refer to it. We have modeling a runway and you know, hair and makeup, and what is commercial print, what is fashion print. It's just a whole education on, you know, telling the world, here are the answers to your questions. We're not charging you anything. This is essential, great information. and it's been a great vehicle for us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's the YouTube channel? Is it THE?
It's THE Network.
Okay. Okay.
But I think I think that you get the link through THE Artist Agency. I'm terrible at that. I should really refer.
No, if you go to our
THE
website,
Network.
you can just click on THE Network.
So everybody can find out the information on how to get
Yeah.
into modeling. I mean, that's always the question I have, like on Instagram. How do I get into
Exactly.
modeling? Oh, I mean, it's a doozy of a question. You know? I'm like, okay, well.
I actually watched all of your videos and I wanted to add to that I really like the idea when you had more experienced model helping the younger one and kind of explaining how to walk runway, what do you need a new model back. So I think that was really interesting.
Oh, good. Thank you for that. I know Amanda actually ended up doing 3 tutorials because, runway is complicated. It's not complicated, but it's a lot of information. And, unfortunately, I mean, there are there are great model camps and things like that, but unfortunately, a lot of the people can't afford it. So we're trying, as Elizabeth said, it's free. It's like, and that was a lot more appealing to me than us writing a book about the industry that would gather dust, because it's something we can continue to update. We really have fallen down on writing a blog. Like we just.
Right. I was going to ask you about that blog. I saw the blog, which is great too. All those things.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it's like
a lot of work.
We're such a small business, and there's like 6 of us that man the ship. So it's like when you really stop and think about, we were really our busiest year in history, and we were working like 24/7 trying to keep up. And thank God that we had last year, because given what's taking place today, if we hadn't had the kind of year we had, it would have been like a tremendous struggle to stay in business. And I am really feeling so badly for the small businesses that are being affected by this.
Yeah. I know my husband was saying the exact same thing. Thank God we had a good year last year and the beginning of this year, because he's like, I would have to get rid of a lot of people if not, I mean,
right.
Yeah, it's been, so what is the age range that you represent?
It's basically 15 to 80.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we do a lot, believe it or not, when you say people want to know how they can model, I've approached people in their 70s.
Yeah.
But so we work with the young, the old, we work with size 2s and size 20s.
Perfect. That was also another question we had about diversity. Good. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have every ethnicity, every size, every shape, every height. We really do.
Yeah. And so it's, but no children. I mean, under 15. I mean, 15 is still a child, but you know what I mean. And how do you do like development? Do you have, I know Missy runs the development part. I mean, you have 6 people working there, but do you do testing, or what exactly sort of is your protocol with that?
Primarily what we do is we start, with an interview process to see how much they really want it and how passionate they will be about it. And if they're going to be the right fit for our market. And from there, we have them tested. And there, as you know, there are a lot of beautiful people that don't necessarily know how to project or give the kind of range that the client needs. So we judge the testing, and if the testing is strong, then it's the next test. But usually within 3 tests, they have enough to bring, a book online. And from there, we start marketing them. And as they get more and more experience, if they want to go to other markets, that's when the appointments are set up. Yeah. But I feel that, when we start somebody as young as 14 or 15, and I say, I know Elizabeth said 15, we will keep an eye on somebody who's 14, but we won't put them to work. keep an eye on them. We touch base with the parents. How's she doing? But that's for women. For men, we really don't start representing men till they're at least 21, because there's just not a market for young men.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Period.
Generally, I mean, and I should add on to that, if we have a 16-year-old that's 5'10", then really the starting point is runway.
Yeah.
And whether that's that model doing a few free shows, getting that experience, getting that, comfort level on being on a big runway. Some runways are the size of a ballroom. So it's very intimidating. Even if you have a natural, innate walk. So there's not a huge market for somebody that young, but as Lynda said, back in the olden days, we had several 16, 17-year-olds that made it big.
Yeah.
Went to New York and blah, blah, blah. We also used to have a huge junior market.
Yes. That's
meaning the back to school days and these days and those days. That doesn't happen anymore. So keeping an eye on them and developing them, it also depends on where they see their future going. If they want to relocate, they want to be homeschooled, it just really depends on the individual.
Right.
But I would say that the best age range for what we do, both fashion and commercial print, is between 25 and 45. And that's pretty much been the case, since we've been around.
Right.
It's still multi-ethnic. It's still, families, grandpas, grandmas, grandchildren. And how we find most of the kids that do modeling work through us is the real kids of our models.
Right.
So, especially right now, that, we've had several bookings where they hire either the male model or the female model, and then they hire their spouses.
Yeah.
Because they're close together. They might be hugging, whatever the case may be. So that's become kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
We've never done that before, really. But it makes sense for a real family.
Right.
They don't have to be 6 feet apart.
Right. So
Definitely.
that you see that sort of moving into also doing the family gathering kind of, that's great.
Yeah.
It's great for families. I mean,
yeah.
And tell me what, both y'all could answer this question. What do you really love about the business that you've been in a long time? And then something that you maybe don't like so much about the business?
Who wants to go first?
Why don't you take it, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Well, I'll start by saying, how I grew up. This business is in my blood, and it's in my heart and soul. And I would have made a lot more money being a surgeon, but I'm passionate about what we do, not only at myself but as a team. And we all make a really good team because we're all equally as passionate about THE. It is a family. What makes it interesting is that 12 hours every day, you have no idea what you're going to expect when your first phone call comes in. Yeah. And that could be a model is sick and we need a replacement within an hour in Towson, Maryland. And they have to be the same. All the clothes have been pulled. They have to be the same size from head to toe, including the shoes. And so, I think that is one element of how we have built a stellar reputation. And that is clients can call us anytime, any day, and know that if there's a problem, it will be fixed in a matter of minutes. And having a big pool of talent to choose from really, really facilitates that. The downside, for me, is technology, to be honest, because I am the old school. I wrote every booking on a sheet of paper.
I was going to say, do you write it down?
I still do.
Me too. Look, I have my book.
And you know, it's interesting because the next generation and the generation after that, you know, 30 something years means several generations.
Yeah.
They do everything through technology.
Yes.
So I always feel like the reason that we're great at customer service is because we pick up the phone and talk to people.
Yeah.
And when you tell a young person, you know, we'll say, I sent a text and I sent an email, and I'm like, well, did you call them?
No.
They're like, wait, there's a telephone?
No. I don't even know.
Like,
yeah. No, I'm just
so
kidding.
that's where, you know, we're all catching up. I mean, our children can show us how to do all this technology.
Look, the phone.
Yeah, but just keeping up with it is, especially, I'm just more comfortable the old way.
Yeah. My next question is, what do you think about the social media and how that's going about? I mean, I know what I've seen, and, you know, with the agencies, they're always like, okay, how many, you know, followers do they have? You know, and it's like,
that's Lynda's territory.
Oh,
She's
Lynda, okay, go.
Okay,
go, Lynda.
Not me.
Well, I'm gonna answer your former question, because that's on my mind, and then I'll roll into that. Really, from the time I was a young girl, my grandmother taught me how to sew, and I loved making my Barbie clothes, and I loved, you know, the beauty industry. I loved theater. I was always backstage doing makeup and just really into the art side of the industry. And it just, you know, being in business never crossed my mind. Like, my background had nothing to do with business. And so that was, you know, just lots of prayers and surrounding, you know, myself in the beginning with like a wonderful lawyer, wonderful accountant, people that can help advise you. But it was something that meant so much to me as an industry that when I started having children and people would say, well, if you're not available, who is? It became a no-brainer that there should be an agency. So every day was a new day, and it was challenging, and I'm dyslexic. So
Me
the
too.
whole technology thing is
too.
like, yeah, I mean, so I just really felt that if I could figure out a way to survive in an industry that I love. Oops. I don't know what just happened.
That's
somebody
okay.
tried to
call you. Yeah.
But it was just a kind of an industry where I felt, you know, I've been behind the scenes. So if I get the right people that I can surround myself with, then of course this is going to be a success. And, you know, like I said, the good fortune of meeting Elizabeth when Terry decided to move to New York, and, you know, everything kind of falls into place. It definitely has its struggles. I think the downside for me, besides, you know, the technology being dyslexic, is the human trafficking, the dark side of the industry that, you know, is just terrifying. It just gives me a stomach ache to think about how much this is still going on. So that brings us to social media, because so many people are actually, you know, they're preyed upon in that format of social media. And I mean, we had a model just recently that answered something on Instagram that was, you know, a huge scam. Unfortunately, you know, she got wrapped up in it. It was not human trafficking, but there was an exchange of money. And so I just feel that with social media, models should keep their personal, you know, they should keep their personal life to them, you know, somewhere else, and have like a model just, I'm not even saying this properly, but I like to see them focus an Instagram account on modeling only and be very conscious of what they're putting on there, and always come back to the agencies or the professionals and say, does this look legitimate? Like, don't be afraid to ask. But, the influencers are definitely being requested more than somebody who's not on Instagram. No question about it. People want as many influencers as they can get, and they're willing to pay more for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to add to that because I personally always try not to post while I'm at the photo shoot or somewhere else and do it after, because you basically tag in the location and you're letting know people where you're at right now.
Right.
And I know Kim Kardashian had this thing happen to her once, that she actually been at the event and she tagged the event, and some crazy people came up to her, and after that she's stopped doing it. So she always posts after she left the location.
Right.
It's pretty scary. And
so what would be your advice, someone starting new in the business? They could go to your YouTube channel for sure. But what would be your advice in that, when you hear a girl, well, I really want to be a model. I want to be a model. I want to be a model my whole life. What would be your advice to give to them?
I think that most of them that come in with that are shocked to hear the work it entails to actually get that started.
Yeah. I think
so.
They
I
think
think
automatic.
Educating them by telling them, here's the real deal. It's we used to compare it to going to law school. You got to go to law school before you can become a lawyer.
Right.
You've got to do all your testing and maybe your free stuff, and, shadowing other models and doing your homework. And, it's a process. Obviously it's called a developmental stage. We're grateful to those models that walk through the door with a full book, with experience. And obviously those are the models that start working right away. But I think that there is a certain expectation with young ladies, and, their eyes start to get bigger when they start getting information. You're not necessarily going to work, in the next week or so. Yeah. So there's a period of time that you will be in your developmental stage, and then you start building your book and start, going out, experience, castings and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it does take a while. People think it happens right away, but I've actually had one or two models that it did happen right away. I have
exactly.
One it happened. I sent the digitals and the agency was flying down the next day. And then it was,
those are the fun ones.
It is a really fun. You're like, woo, it's a party. And she's going to parties in Paris. And, that's fabulous.
But what's also random and bizarre is that I'll never forget this. One time we saw this guy in open call, and he had, kind of a mohawk with his hair shaved on the sides, and we're telling him about things. And then literally that afternoon, we got a call from a client that was booking a hair thing. And they said, we need a guy with a mohawk. And I was like, all bets are off. Like, you just never know what request is going to be the next go around. And that's why every single person at some point in the working world might have a booking, because you never know what the requests are going to be.
And that's why my mom has always asked, can I model? Can I model? I said, yeah, I guess you could, Mom, if you wanted.
Yeah.
You're past the age there. She's past 80 now. So.
Okay. Well, we might make an exception for her.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say it, so that's why you can compare your journey to other models. Because honestly, like for me, it took a year just to build my portfolio, do networking, and only after a year of this hard work, I finally heard from one agency. And I've been submitting constantly throughout the year. And when I tell this to some girls that, you know, message me on Instagram saying like, what did I do? And I tell them it took me a year. And I was like, oh my God, really? Like, I'm not going to be in New York tomorrow.
Right?
It's pretty hilarious because people still think that it's so easy to get in and it's just easy money. And if you're there for money, like, that's just not going to work. You really have to be passionate about modeling, about the art part of it too.
Right.
Because people tend to forget, because it's a very creative job. It's not just, you know, the business and just showing up. So you really have to master your craft.
Right.
That's absolutely brilliant that you bring that up, because I would say 90% of the people, when they talk about, I want to be a model, I need to make some extra money.
Yes.
And I'm like, it's not like that. You know, it's like a full-time commitment for a part-time job, and what you have to put into it before you start seeing the rewards. It's like you have to have the patience. And I mean, you can just see them leave the office like, oh, I didn't know it. Like Elizabeth talked about, you know, the test, all the time and money that you have to invest in yourself to get something out of it. And yeah, but so many people, hey, I want to be a model. I need to make some extra money this summer. Okay, well,
takes a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Like that's not happening.
Right.
So, and then the other thing I wanted to ask, do you advise any of your models like on exercise and eating well and doing meditation, or do you talk to them about that at all?
We do. We've always included that in our essential pack as far as good nutrition and exercise. And, you know, mainly what we say to models is that you need a long, lean, toned muscle. Like, don't spend a lot of time lifting weights and doing Stairmasters, because that builds little short chubby muscles. And even if you have muscles and you look toned, you're going to bulk up. So we really recommend Pilates and yoga, swimming, anything that will keep you healthy and toned. And definitely as far as the nutritional side of it, you know, if we have a model, as we have as many models that need to gain weight as need to lose weight, you know, so it's really finding that what works for them. And today, with all the diversity of sizing outside of the fashion industry, and I think, you know, in the commercial lifestyle world, that people are going to be using a lot of their own clothes like we used to do in the 80s, you know,
doing their own hair and makeup and everything.
So I think that, you know, as far as it's just about being the healthy you know, what is your healthy size, you know? So, I mean, outside of runway, where they absolutely dictate the sizes based on the samples of the designers, you know, you can just be your healthy self.
Yep. And there is all different sizes, shapes. And I mean, I love that the industry, I feel like, is really going more towards that way of, you know, I just had a girl, you know, get signed who was 5'6". I mean, I was like, wow, I was so surprised. You know, it's really great now that it's diverse.
Exactly.
For sure.
We've waited a long time to see this happen, but it is something that it really speaks volumes that enough people have spoken up that the commercial market sees that it matters to have people. I mean, you still have to be a professional model, but you can look like a real person. You can be a real person.
And that's what the category is called.
Yeah.
They'll, you know, the request is for real people.
Yeah. Yeah. And families. Yay.
Families.
Someone relatable, because everybody got so tired of this perfect Instagram world, you know, when you go and all the pictures like overly photoshopped, people don't want to see it anymore.
Right.
So grateful of that. So where can we find you guys on your website and then YouTube and Instagram? Is it all THE Artist Agency?
Yep,
Okay.
sure is.
Yes, and I think what I will do is have Francesca, who is our social media guru, like just send you everything.
Okay.
So you'll have that if that would be helpful, because we've always had little bullets. It was THE, but with bullets. So on our Facebook, as an example, Facebook didn't know what to do with us. So it had to have like T.H.E. which means something entirely different. So I would rather you have the correct link. So I'll definitely ask Francesca to send that to you.
Okay, great.
And even Sandra, I mean, it's so great. She's our head booker. And when you think about it, Elizabeth and I look at each other and we're like, we always have to have young people, young, savvy tech people. But, she's amazing. So we can also have her send you whatever you would need.
That's why I teamed up with Katya.
Smart.
I'm not stupid.
Smart.
This is absolutely brilliant. I'm really happy to see that y'all are doing this. It's interesting to see, how people have pivoted and they're taking, using their time in the creative world, and bless your hearts for doing this, because there's a lot of people out there that need this podcast.
Yeah, and we love it. I mean, we also talk about wellness and, have different people on. So yeah, it's been such a joy doing this. I mean, I really love it. We've loved it. And I'm so grateful you guys could come on.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
All right.